Morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world. And welcome back to the OWLS Racing League here for Season 8. And today we are here for round 4, which also means we have our first sprint race of the season here today at the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. That's right, we are here at Jeddah for a sprint race for the first time this season. Of course, 2 sprint races as this season progresses, and we are now getting closer to that halfway stage of the season. Drivers have slowly started to acclimatise to one another, and we should be in for some frantic action all the way throughout. Of course, if you don't know how the sprint works here in the OWLS Racing League, or if you're new here, the schedule for the sprint is as follows. We'll sprint qualifying, then the sprint, followed by the main race qualifying, then a 50% race to get things underway. And it should be a very interesting night with plenty of points on the table for people to pick up. Of course, let's quickly run you through your championship standings before we head over to sprint qualifying. Only 12 minutes of sprint qualifying, of course, here this evening. It'll be interesting to see how this track time helps these drivers understand the car and also the game more. So quickly looking at the standings, we got the top 11 here. It's Pussant who leads the way, but only 1 point over Leopold. Then, it's Cook in third. So the 2 drivers battling for the championship in the previous 2 seasons still very much in contention with Pussant, the reigning champion, still just about leading the way. Then it's Will Smooth, who after, of course, his penalty in Zandvoort, drops a few points there, and he is 6 points behind on Cook. Then it's Yari, Quiet Boy, Captain Foxy, Ewan, ST, Phase Monkey, and Sprint F1. That is your championship standings, the top 11. But drivers are now making their way out onto the circuit here in Jeddah, and we shall see who comes out on top. 17 drivers take to the track this evening. First driver out onto the track is actually the man second place in the standings. So let's head trackside now. Is Leopold, who will be our first driver out on the road. What he mentioned, liver here tonight. Runs wide, but of course that don't matter too much while you're in, of course, the outlap. Of course, plenty of opportunities to set laps, and on an outlap as well. It won't affect your main racing lap. Quickly bringing up the tyres as well, because of course you can use both medium and softs in sprint qualifying. But here we are then with Leopold exiting the final corner. Straight line mode activated. I'll see what these drivers can possibly deliver. The first lap of the evening is getting underway. Our first lap of sprint qualifying this season, and it's a little bit wide through the first corner there for Leopold as he makes his way now through turn 2 and 3, up into 4 and 5, down to 5th gear, bring the car through. The rear of the car just stepping out, seeming to be a little bit lower on the downforce it seems, and trying to carry as much minimum speed through these corners as possible. Of course, second in the standings is the V-Carb driver. Lovely stuff through the rest of the first sector. First sector split, we've got a 32.6, of course, lifting into the banked hairpin of turn 13. Of course, that's going to be very much a big part of this qualifying session, and also in the races as well, is lifting to try to save as much battery as possible for those 2 final straights. See now, out of turn 15, use the straight line mode, use the battery, and just lift into 22. Build back up that speed. A slight tap at the inside. It's been a very scrappy opening lap. Now heading up into the final corner. Straight line mode, of course, will be activated, taking the shortest run possible to the line. And for Leopold, it's a 1 minute 28.916. A very respectable lap time indeed from the man second in the standings, and his championship rival of Puzan is out on the road, but he's just making his way through the middle sector. George goes up to second fastest, 29.8, around about a second behind on Leopold there. So of course, a lot of these drivers being on the medium compound, it is going to mean that times are going to be a little bit slower than what we would see in the likes of the main race qualifying. Of course, only now 8 minutes to go, so we would be at that halfway stage of main qualifying. These drivers just getting their laps on the board. Here comes MKD, seeing what he can potentially do through the final corner, opening up that straight line mode, taking that short run to the line. After this, we'll switch over to championship leader of Puzan, MKD to 6th fastest. Here comes Puzan to the line. Can he topple Leopold? No, only a 1 minute 30.6, so a very strong lap time and strong showing from Leopold here. Already a second clear of the rest of the field behind him. 9 drivers have set laps. Of course, still waiting for times from Liam Bearder, who is on a lap right now. Also the likes of Websy in the Mercedes, who's just made his way through the middle sector. ST, Agent, Paulie, the A-Team, Cook, Must and Hyper yet to set laps within this session. Here we go with Websy. Oh, a big slide out of the final corner. And up to the line we go. It's 7th fastest, just behind Puzan on a set of the softs of 31.0. Liam Bearder still on his lap. 1 minute 3.2 in the middle sector. This is tracking around about a second down on Websy. Expecting it to be around where Alex is at the moment. As HB Cook makes his way onto the road. Out of the final corner for Liam Bearder. Across the line, it is around about where Alex is, a 1 minute 31.9. 4 tenths behind BJ Riley. I'll be looking to certainly improve that as this session progresses, but still Leopold's lap not being able to be beat just yet. Now look at the A-Team as he makes his way through the banked hairpin of 13. Potentially be a defining run for the Audi in this session. Could be an only run in this session, depending on how much fuel is on board. So, for the A-Team, as he now makes his way through the middle sector. Cook started his lap. Now making his way through the first sector himself. But we'll switch back to the A-Team for now. And see what he could potentially deliver as he comes up to the line. The A-Team, what's it going to be? A 1 minute 32.3. And we'll head straight back over to, of course, the champion from 2 seasons ago. HB Cook missed out in agonising fashion last season on the title. We're now looking to try and take sprint pole position here tonight. Hasn't had the strongest starts to the season. Of course, does lie 3rd place in those standings, but it's not been his greatest showing so far this season. Hasn't been able to pick up a victory as of yet. And we'll just be looking to try and keep these consistent results on the board. Now making his way up into the final corner. Of course, target time is a 1 minute 28.916. Is Cook going to get anywhere near that? Championship leader, of course, Puzan. It lines up 4 fastest. He's on a 30.0. HB Cook only a 30.7. But how much fuel has the Aston Martin put in that car? And is it going to be multiple runs in this session on the same set of tyres as Hyper now makes his way through the middle sector in the McLaren? The Leopold, of course, George and Joker haven't come out for other laps just yet. As Hyper runs wide through turn 22, tags the wall, and also invalidates the lap. That's going to be that part. That's going to be that lap over and done with, and potentially session over and done with, as him and Muse, still the only two drivers, are yet to set lap times. Puzan has invalidated, wondering if he's going to come back into the pit lane now to try go again with George. Now going on to the softs. We are seeing that Red Bull tyre appear for some of these drivers. And it is going to be interesting to see how they do, of course, deliver on this one. With Leopold already having such a big lead, is he going to extend that even further on the set of the softs? Will those or will the likes of George and Joker feel a bit more comfortable on this tyre? Bring that gap a little bit closer. If not, topple that time. Leopold's still not out on the road just yet. George is, along with Joker. Yari, of course, who won in the Netherlands after that penalty for Will. Now for George, a crucial lap time here. A driver we know who has bags of pace. We saw it last season, and we've seen glimpses of it this season as well. Now, makes his way into that first corner, hits that first apex quite nicely, then brings the car, of course, to that left-hand side as we make our way through turn 3. Keep a narrow line into there. It'll be down the gears into 4, down to 4th gear, run the car over that inside curve as you make your way through 5, then into 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. It'll be a very tricky complex of corners. You've got to be on the utmost limits. And in the first sector split, how much of a difference do those soft tyres make? 3.5 tenths of a difference in the first sector alone. So for George, now through turn 12, lovely rotation. Gets as close to that inside apex wall as he possibly can. Before making the way into 14 and 15, you hear the lifting and the coasting just to build some battery back before the next straight. And of course, we'll have that straight line mode activated, not using too much battery. Has actually lost quite a bit of time. Maybe a different battery strategy on this lap. And now blasts his way all the way out of turn 22. It's going to be about the run up into the final corner. Might have some traffic just in his way as well for this one, though. Onto the brakes he goes. One of the Cadillacs, I believe, that is in front of him. DRS. Straight line mode is open, not DRS. And is George going to find an improvement across the line? No, he is not. Invalidates the lap in the end as well, but only a tenth found from the softs to the medium, from the mediums to the softs. And now we have Joker pushing on his own lap. So 8 tenths to the good here from Joker. So George must have had a really poor poor lap there. And this might challenge Leopold's time, who hasn't come out for another lap. So Leopold, Cook hasn't made it to the line either. So best of 10th for the two-time champ here this evening so far in sprint qualifying. Up to the line we go now with Joker. Can he displace Leopold? Can he snatch that sprint pole away? No, misses out by less than a tenth, by just over, a tenth of a second. It's second fastest for Joker, who makes it a 1-2 for OSRT, and it is going to be Joker who lines up on that front row, but unless Puzan, Pooley and Yari have something to say about it. Yari will be next to the line. He goes third fastest, displacing George that little bit further. Pole is now coming up to the line. So what is Pooley going to be able to do? Is straight line mode activated. A tight run to the line. Gets a lovely slipstream off the Audi in front. He now goes to third fastest. So all eyes now do turn to Puzan. A 30.0 is his current time. If he wants to reach the front row, he needs to find 7 tenths of a second through this final sector, which is only really 3 corners. So now up to the line we come with Puzan, the reigning champion, the championship leader. He doesn't find an improvement in position, but finds an improvement in time. But he stays 6th fastest, and we wait for Alex to come to the line in the Aston Martin. He was up by a second, but unfortunately invalidated the lap. And for of course, for Leopold there. The man second place in the standings. He didn't even need to come out on that soft compounder tyre. He was just instantly on the pace on those mediums. And the likes of Joker, Yari, Paulie, anyone who went on that soft compounder tyre just could not topple that time. Your order for the sprint is Leopold, Joker, Paulie, Yari, George, Puzan, Websy, ST, Ben, BJ Riley rounds out the top 10. Cook starts from 11th. Disappointing session for him. Then NKD, Liam Bearder. And I'll get the rest of the grid in a moment. But a very, very interesting qualifying session. And could maybe sign some things to come here for Leopold in the sprint. Is he going to dominate just like he did in qualifying? So, MKD, Liam Beard at the 18, Mused, Alex, Agent, and a Hyper round out your 18-car grid for the sprint. Should be getting underway ever so shortly, of course, in the sprint races. No pit stops. It's just flat out to the end, a shortened race distance. Best opportunities for drivers to get moves done before we head into that 18-minute qualifying session after this for that main feature race. And we are just about to get underway now. It's Leopold and Joker on the front row of the grid here for the sprint. The V-Cub and the Mercedes. And we are underway here in Saudi Arabia for the Saudi sprint. And it's Leopold who gets a lightning launch off the line. He's able to hold on to that lead quite comfortably through the first couple of corners. Paulie is to the inside of Yari. He's got that move done up into third. There's a slide in the background. That looks to be for Ben. As we make our way now through turn 4. George has been able to get past Yari as well. So he's dropped down to 5th place. And it's a great start from Leopold, who was able to just hold on to his position off the line as we now make our way through the very twisty and technical end of the first sector. Looking at the tyres, all but MKD and the A-Team on a set of the mediums. They're on a set of the white-walled hard compound of tyres. And for Leopold, he has got a dream getaway there. Half a second clear already. George just dropping back a little bit more. Of course, lifting and coasting is going to be crucial. Websy has dropped behind both MKD and BJ Riley. Wondering if he's potentially got some front wing damage, which might cost him. No, just maybe some differences in the lifting and coasting, as he's now going to go on the attack there onto BJ Riley. A little bit of contact between the pair, more contact, and that's BJ Riley spinning across the road. Somehow keeps the car in the right direction, is able to catch that one, but that was a big moment there as Paulie has also dropped down a few places after being overtaken by George. He's now down to 7th place, just being passed by teammate ST. And for Leopold, he's got a half a second lead. It's then Joker, Yari, who's 1 second back. There's a yellow flag in the background. That's for Alex, who has gone around at the final corner. But at the front of the field, Joker will have that overtake mode if he's able to stay within the 1 second on the next lap. Paulie has been able to get back past on teammate ST there, but he might try and fight back. A little Alpine civil war here at this stage of the race. But ST will just sit behind his teammate. MKD stays in 8th place. Cook has made his way up into 9th. Capitalised on that carnage there between, of course, MKD and BJ Riley. It's a little bit further up there. George has just been overtaken there by Paulie. A lovely move to the inside. We saw it in the foreground. And it's now up into 5th place for the Alpine. The comeback drive is well and truly on. Yari, though, 1.3 seconds back. It could now be a straight shootout between the top two in this one. Of course, with the overtake mode, you get that little bit more battery store, and also you can recharge that little bit better. Have more power to play with. And that detection zone is where it used to be for DRS. As actually something's happened to Websy as he's completely dropped down the field, and something's happened to George as well. George is going slow down the back straight. Has he had a moment? Has he had a spin? Has he got some front wing damage maybe as he's trundling down that back straight? I think he does have some front wing damage, does the Williams driver. And he's now just trundling all the way down into the final corner. You see that right front end plate is missing. So yes, front wing damage there for Georges. Now to the inside goes ST to try and defend the position from MKD. They were going to run side by side out of the corner. It's a good old up and under by the Red Bull. But he's just not able to seal the move as George is speeding into the pit lane. And that's probably going to be a retirement from this sprint race. Out. Another yellow flag. That seems to be for BJ Riley, who's had more drama in this race. He's got more front wing damage as well. Joker. He's still kept with Leopold, so it is going to be the battle between the V-Carb and the Mercedes for a majority of this race. We're already a third of the way through, of course. Only 9 laps here in Saudi Arabia for a sprint race. Be a 27 lap, I believe, feature race. That'll be coming up after the next qualifying session we do have. Joker making the run. Can't get close enough just yet. Potentially just doesn't have the battery to deal with it, even with the overtake mode. Of course, even though you do have that more power, that more battery to play with, this circuit drains that battery quite a lot. But no, a full tank. So maybe just waiting for the right opportunity to strike here for the Mercedes. BJ Riley making a double move further back on Alex and Agent. That is for 15th place. Unfortunate really for Riley. A good start, but that contact down at turn 22 as Agent runs all the way off the road. Unfortunately meant that he dropped down the field. And that was his session over and, well, pretty much his race over and done with. As he picks up some front wing damage. Certainly could have been one contending for points. Talking about points, of course, it's 1st to 8th in the sprints. So at the moment, Leopold will be taking the championship lead heading into the feature race. And HB Cook as well is ending up our last point scorer of this sprint. Bozan is now looking to the inside of Yari. We might see a move here from the Ferrari to put himself onto the podium. It means that it is a 2-point swing in Leopold's favour, who'll lead into the feature race, just like Puzan is into the sprint by 1 singular point. Don't see Puzan really having the pace to hunt down Joker here, especially in such few laps. Liam Bearder. Getting actually overtaken there by Moose. I think he was spun round, potentially by Hyper, on the exit of turn 2. And at the front of the field, Joker's been able to get past Leopold, who might have had a moment. Leopold has a moment. The race leader, the man fighting for the championship lead here in the sprint race, who might have been able to take it if he was able to hold on to that race lead, has gone around at turn 12. And that usually is down to rear tyres overheating. So for Leopold, a moment for the race leader, who has looked oh so untouchable in the opening, qualifying, and the first 5 laps of this sprint, even though Joker was getting closer. Unfortunately, for Leopold, he drops it round. It'll be tied at the moment. Level points heading into the main feature race. Of course, we are only round 4, but still the championship will be on the forefront of a lot of these drivers' minds. As Paulie has been able to get past Yari, but the Audi might now fight back around the outside of the Alpine. Just isn't able to get that move done. As Cook now able to get back by onto Webseat, back up into 8th place. Busan, even though Leopold had that spin, hasn't been able to get back within the 1 second of the cars in front. He's actually getting overtaken here by Paulie. To the inside will go the Alpine. It'll be a better exit for the Ferrari, and then the inside into turn 4. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Who's going to hold the battery more? And it's going to be Paulie round the outside. Busan backed out of it. knows it would have been too risky, excuse me, to make that move and try and hold it on the inside. Play it safe, score some points. And he is in 4th place now, just in front of Yari. Really going to have to try and fight this one back. When we cross the line, it'll be 3 racing laps to go here in the sprint. Fight this one back. He'll have the overtake mode this time around. He didn't have that on the last lap. The one we have just completed. Lap 7 of 9 now gets underway. And here comes the Scuderia Ferrari to the outside line. He shall now go. The Alpine will have no defense to this one. And it is Puzant back up into this 3rd place. Joker, of course, leads the way. He's had a torrid start to the season, so it'll be a brilliant confidence boost. Even though it is the sprint, but at least pick up a victory. Even if it is over such a small race, morale boost very high indeed. And Paulie is now coming under all sorts of pressure from Yari behind, so we may see the Audi be able to get past the Alpine. Now fighting back against Puzant. ST, I think there might have been an issue here for ST. There is a big issue for ST, who's off and into the wall. Facing in the wrong direction. And I believe that could have even been a rear puncture, because the car certainly did not seem very stable indeed. But only 7 laps on those mediums. And he went round, potentially due to some overheating issues. 1.7 seconds is now the gap between Joker and Leopold. This may not be done just yet, ladies and gentlemen. At the front of the field here in the sprint. Is still trying to hold on as much as he can. Websey able to get back past on Cook, but the 2-time champ will look to his inside. There's some slight contact made as they make their way through turns 2 and 3. The Aston Martin will have the inside line, but is he going to do what Puzant did and back out? Websey squeezing him to the inside, and he does eventually have to give way for the Mercedes. And Cook only picking up 1 point in this sprint. Luckily, it's not going to be too much of a shift into other drivers' favours, because, of course, it is only 8 for the win, all the way down to 148. Still lost. Pepsi really starting to put him under some, being put under some pressure here from Cook, Yari, Paulie, and Puzant. Now all scrapping themselves. Yari has got the move done on Paulie, and he may now have an opportunity to attack the Scuderia Ferrari ahead. The final lap of the sprint begins now as Yari once rider nearly into the wall. He was teetering on the fine line there to be able to just try and carry as much speed through the corner as he can. Puzant defends the inside with everything he can as they make their way through the first corner for the final time here in this sprint race. Of course, this isn't the feature. This is only for the sprint race podium before we head into qualifying in a few moments' time. But still, these points can be absolutely crucial for a championship challenge. Come the end of the season, we've seen championships decided by only a mere matter of points, a handful of points. And picking up that 1 extra point by gaining a position or losing a position and losing that point could be the difference between you taking the title and losing it. Paulie now looking to the outside as Yari gets the move done on Puzan. The Ferrari wasn't able to defend, didn't have the battery to do so. And Paulie tries it round the outside, isn't able to get the move done at all. Oh, and he runs wide off the road. Puzan off the road. And that might just give Yari the breathing room. As we now exit out of turn 16, the Scuderia Ferrari has maybe just given the Audi a golden opportunity to hold on to this third place. And of course, Yari does have that overtake mode as well. Was behind the detection zone. And the championship leader goes off. The championship leader with a slide out of turn 22. And for Puzan, it's going to be 5th place still. Luckily, the pack wasn't so close to one another. But still, he loses out on some crucial points as Joker takes victory here in the sprint, followed by Leopold, who will take the championship lead with that mistake there from Puzan. It's side by side to the line, and it's Yari who gets P3, 5 thousandths clear of Paulie. Puzan, the championship leader, making a crucial error in that final lap before it's MKD, Websy, Cook rounds out your final points paying position here in the sprint of 8th. Then it's Hyper, Ben, the A team. Then Liam Bearder, Muse, BJ Riley, Alex, and Agent will round out the field. But for Joker, a dominant drive in the sprint. After he was able to take that race lead, Leopold could not catch back up after that moment from the V-Carb. He capitalised on the opportunity at hand. Took that race victory. And for Puzan, he'll be kicking himself. He will be kicking himself with that moment. That means Leopold now has a 2-point advantage heading into the feature race. But your sprint order is as follows. Joker from Leopold. It's a swap around of the front two from qualifying. Yari in third. Paulie, Puzan, MKD, Websy, Cook, Hyper. Then the 18 Bearder, Muse, BJ Riley, Alex, Agent, ST and George, who of course were both our retirements from the sprint. But we now head into main qualifying session. Of course, a session now where drivers have had some learning from sprint qualifying and also from the sprint race as well. Time to bring 18 more of action. Will be the first one out onto the road. Drivers, of course, changes to their setup. Maybe with some of that learning, putting some downforce on, maybe taking some downforce off. Leopold is actually retired from the session. Participate. So for the championship leader now, after that sprint, participate here in qualifying. Start from the back of the field. Maybe confident in his abilities. The last question mark. Hoping to take that victory, but of course, with of course, how difficult the streets here in Jeddah are and how easy it is involved in Leopold playing a very, very risky game in first driver out on the road will be Riley in the Cadillac. One of the new faces on the grid, Cadillac, along with Audi, their first season here in the OWLS Racing League. As he now makes his way through final part of the lap, the final sector. What is this opportunity now going to deliver for BJ Riley? A disappointing sprint after a good start to that race. Looking to make amends in feature race quali and in the feature race as well. Through the first sector. With the Cadillac, what are we looking like in the first sector? What's it going to be? Of course, everyone will be on the softs for this session. Oh, an invalidation there for BJ Riley, so will not get this first lap on the board. But unlike the sprint, we have plenty more time. 6 extra minutes of time, in fact. Able, of course, that's a competitive lap time. Anyway, Dari is on a lap. Let's go on board with the Audi. Of course, got P3 in that sprint by only a mere matter of milliseconds, 5 thousandths of a second. Been a dead heat across the line. First sector, 33.2 from the Audi. Now, onto the brakes in 14, Yari. Of course, we want to try now, especially with Leopold not taking part in this session, try and take that pole position. Agent, a 33.0 from the Ferrari. Staying on board here with Yari in the Audi. Piper now sets the benchmark for 29.4 on a set of the soft compounder tyres. But what is Audi driver going to do in this session? Dari, second place after that one at 29.8. And Joker goes into second fastest. So for Hyper, wasn't able to really get a time on the board in qualifying for the sprint. Showing some great pace there on this opening lap. Going 3 tenths clear of Joker. You have the likes of George. He's on his lap now, making his way to line. Can he displace the McLaren driver? You bet he can. George goes to the very top at 29.1, 3 tenths clear of the McLaren. As well on a lap. That was MKD, I believe, going up into 5th fastest, excuse me. Puzan, both on their laps. We'll have a look at Puzan. He's just come across the line. Steve may have validated that one and booted up to go again. So we'll go back to Paulie in the Alpine. Now, out of the final corner for the Alpine, using every last bit of battery he can. At 29.1 is the benchmark set by George across the line. It's third fastest at 29.5 for the Alpine. But we will, of course, switch over. And now second in the standings of Puzan, who made that really clumsy mistake at the end of that sprint race. He will certainly be kicking himself for that one. Not a mistake a champion, of course the reigning champion as well, you would think would make. But shows he is human, is Puzan. Now up into that final corner. Every last bit of battery he can. For Puzan up to the line. We shall go for the Scuderia Ferrari. It's not going to be enough to take the top time away. To 29.9, around about a second behind. And for Puzan, not the greatest starts to qualifying here. What about though? HB Cook started his first flying lap. And now Cook. First sector split. What are we going to see from the two-time champ? 33.0. So tracking a bit quicker than what Yari was in the first sector. Parts of this lap 3. Any more quick times? .1 in the mid sector. That's not too bad either from Cook. Of course, finished 8th in that sprint. Now to try and use that knowledge he learned in that sprint. Up a little bit further forward, of course, wasn't it? The final run of the boarding quali. So that did hamper his position in the sprint. Across the line for Cook, it's 7th fastest, so 1 minute 30.2. Instantly beaten though by ST. Puts himself into the 1 minute 30.0s. 2 temps clear, nearly 3 temps clear. HB Cook. Pointing there from the Aston Martin as well. Be around 3 temps off championship rival Puzan. Fierce long-term rival. Dari is back out on the road on a lap himself, but has aborted this one. Shaping up to go again, you think? No, comes into the pit lane. Pooley has invalidated, did just finish the lap, was 500ths up on their previous best, but another invalidation there means that lap is not going to be onto the board. Of course, ST and Cook have both done sessions, both done their laps at around about the same time. Agent he's now going to be making his way through the first sector. Currently slowest of all with a 1 minute 33.0. Oh, and all over the inside curve there. Somehow the game not recognised that as valid, recognises that as invalid. And for Agent, that is going to be a lap down the drain for Joker. He's up by 4.5 tenths through the first sector. Is the Mercedes driver. Has lost a little bit of time. 2 attempts up. DRS. For a straight line mode, once again open for the Mercedes. Through the final corner. Now go. Of course, no overtake mode enabled. Because, of course, you don't need to be within 1 second. It is automatically on, and Joker to the line. He goes 3rd fastest. Lost a bit more time in that final sector, and for him it's a 29.408, just under 600 clear of Pooley. On a lap, or might have just finished 1 of 30.6 for the Cadillac. Is the lap time to beat of how little battery left there for BJ Ryan. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a cool down lap after finishing one off. Racing that come out on road. Websy still yet to set a lap, and yes, it was of course Agent being down in that first sector, a little bit wide through the S's there for Websy, a 33.8 in that first sector. This is not tracking too great at the moment for the Mercedes. .340. Do everything he can to at least set a competitive benchmark for himself before the final runs, because you want something on the board at the very least. You want to have something to aim at for those final runs. That delta, so exactly where your lap is going to stack up against the rest. Session draws to a close. Into that final corner. A nice drive out of there and make the run all the way down that main straight. Doesn't keep a title run to the line. It's 11th fastest for Websy. Maybe could have shaved off about half a tenth, but still would have kept him 11th if he went out a bit closer to that inside line on that final run. We'll be able to get back into the pit lane and out again, but on that last run, a 31.1, we'll need to find around about half a second, I think, about getting into that top 10 and displacing BJ Riley. We now look at Puzan in the Scuderia Ferrari, the prancing horse. Of course, if you're a Ferrari fan in real life, you'll be extremely happy with the result today. A 1-3 Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. That will be loving. Would love to just try and recreate the success that Charles Leclerc had today by taking the second win of the season. So out of the final corner we come with the reigning world champion. Of course, he's first title defense. Just like Lando Norris is in a new regulation of car in these F126 cars. That very nicely and does not seem to have lost any of that raw speed that we've seen in seasons prior. Actually done through the first sector there for Puzan, and is up by just under a tenth and a half in the first sector. Must has retired in the pit lane along with Agent. Brakes down to fourth gear, make your way through quite nicely. Puzan not really pushing the limits though of the car through that chicane. Use a lot more of the track, especially on the entry to 15. Now only up by 300ths of a second. Much battery as possible. Gain as much time as he can, because of course a 2.5 tenth improvement is needed to even get past Yari in front. So he needs a monstrous end to this lap. Wants to even find himself into that top 5. Lovely stuff out of that final corner. Straight line mode activated, using all the battery, all the tarmac he can. Across the line, it is 5th fastest. Did find a 10.5. Sorry, 2.5 tenths. And has taken that position by only 5 thousandths of a second. So Yari, he may have denied Paulie a podium in the sprint by 5 thousandths. Might be denied a top 5 start. $5,000. For Puzan, that's going to be heat session over and done with. We'll head on board with one of the front runners. Session is actually where is he on the run? He's just making his way through the middle sector, but he is backed off. It's actually going to be provisional pole man George who starts this one. Get us underway for the final runs of qualifying here this evening. Of course, not their first final runs of qualifying rodeo tonight, with that sprint qualifying session as well. But George through the first sector, split up by nearly 3/10 of a second, so we could see him dive into those 1 minute 28. Of course, pole position in the sprint qualifying was by Leopold on the mediums, and that was a 28.9. Are we going to see someone topple that on the softs? Will that sprint pole still be the quickest of the evening? A lot of trust in the car through these fast flowing corners. He's still up by about 0.2 of a second. Now drain everything as he makes his way up into the final corner. Very difficult to get right on the exits. The car naturally understeers as the track narrows as well. Actually understeer and the car drifts out wide. It narrows up. It's just an absolutely awful corner exit. But up to the line, here we go from George. Can we see someone beat the 28.9? We can! A 28.6 from George Yari. Is able to get another lap on the board. Joker to second. He is only just snatched that away from Hyper, who is up by 0.2 in the first. Has lost a bit of time in the middle sector. Runs wide, taps the wall, but still somehow is able to keep going within this lap. And will the McLaren driver be able to take that front row start back away from Joker? Of course, started second in the sprint. Wide again from Hyper. Lock that inside front. I don't see this ending in a good direction here for Hyper. And no, into the pit lane he does come. And for HB Cook as well. He will start from 8th. But here comes Puzan to the line. Did he find an improvement on 2-lap-old softs? He did find a place onto Yari, so he does move up into 6th place. Oh no, he didn't. He did not find a place onto Yari, so he lost time in that final sector. But your qualifying session order is as follows. It is George who takes pole position by a whopping half a second over Joker and Hyper, Paulie, Yari, Puzan, ST, Cook, MKD, BJ Riley, Websy, Liam Bearder, Ben, Alex, Muse, the A-Team and Agent, and Leopold, who did not set a lap at the end of that, in any part of that session. Start from the back of the field. Up for George. He takes the overall pole time as well with that, putting it out when he needed to. But man, oh man, we could have been denied a brilliant qualifying session there if Leopold was able to partake in the session. Because that could have been down to a mere few thousandths of a second. Of course, as we gear up for the main feature race here tonight. Championship well and taken up. Flipped on its head. Of course, who will lead us away? Front of the field after the first lap, and we're about to find that out now. It's George on pole, Joker in second, just like it was in the sprint. And we're underway here in the Saudi Arabia for the feature race. And once again, it's a good start from the pole man. And this time it's George who leads that way through turn 1. Joker slots into second place. And it's Hyper, Paulie, Yari and Puzan who round out that top 6. And it's Cook who's already on the offensive there onto ST. He's been able to get the move done. ST then swoops right round the outside in the Alpine. A spectacular move on the opening lap. But does that count as a legal overtake? Because he went off the road once he got the move done. No, it does not. He stays in that 7th place. And Cook isn't able to find that position. He struggled here last season as well, did Cook, around Saudi. So really just a bogey track for the Aston Martin. Probably looking. Try even get a move done into 14. No, of course, just lifts off. Builds that battery back up. Maybe just try and get the exit. Go for the move that way. But at the front of the field, at the end of the opening lap, it's George who leads the way. There is Joker and Hyper who round out the top three. Yari going side by side here with Puzan. It's the Audi on the inside, the Ferrari on the outside. The Scuderia had to just back out there, did the Prancing Horse. Yellow flag behind, and that's for BJ Riley again on the opening tour, as that was Puzan once again putting Yari under some pressure. George also now under pressure from Joker. And this has allowed Hyper to go down the inside of the Mercedes driver and potentially even get the Williams as well as they drive now down that main straight for the second time over the line. It's George who, of course, will set the fastest lap, being the first one across the line. But Hyper might be able to get two cars in the span of two corners. Around the outside he goes on the Williams, and Hyper does take that race lead away. So the McLaren capitalising on the carnage in front, the chaos between both George and Joker in that battling takes that race lead away. And if we look at the tyres, everybody's on the mediums except for Puzan Leopold, who's had a lightning launch from last to 11th. And they are the only drivers on the hards, along with MKD as well. Paulie seeing Joker push George through his next complex of corners. Oh, and George actually taps the wall there. Taps the wall down that straight, trying to take as much of the line as he can. Runs a little bit wide as well. A good measure through 22 and doesn't have any battery to play with, and this is going to give Joker a perfect opportunity. Squeeze right up against the wall. There's more contact between the pair, and now here comes Paulie to the inside, but he can't find a way through. But with limited battery for the Williams, we may see him be able to fight back. Joker, though, is now under pressure from George, who's tried to get the fight back. He's got a bit more battery to play with, though, as the Mercedes, and he will just be able to hold on. But George late on the brakes to the inside. There's contact as George bounces all the way over the curb, and Paulie still looking back at this one as a contender to try and get the move done, but he's not going to be close enough as George uses the battery between turns 2 and 3 and gets the move done, and he's back up into second place. But this is giving Hyper every opportunity to break clear and break that 1 second for overtake mode, and that is exactly what he has done. Now up into, he's now 1.4 seconds clear. So he's using that battery wisely as the McLaren, as George is fighting like it's the final few laps of the race here on lap 3 of 25. And now here comes Joker once again, squeezed right up against the wall. And here comes Paulie to maybe even get past the pair of them. There's more contact between the Mercedes, and the Williams, and I think Joker might potentially have some front wing damage. George goes off the road, and into the wall goes Joker and George, and out of the race goes George. That is going to be a virtual safety car, as that was a big accident there for both drivers. There's George's car in the middle of the road, and that was Ben Chaikin avoiding action. Luckily, no front wing damage there for him, but Joker certainly does have some front wing damage now. I said he might have picked some up, but George comes straight across the nose there, a Joker. And nothing the Mercedes man can do. George has left the session. Pit lane, here comes Websey, comes into the pit lane as well. That's not for a wing change, that's just for a pit stop. But Joker, of course, taking a little while longer. Being a virtual safety car, you do save some time, but that certainly would not have helped Websey at all there. Go back. Green flag action. We go back to green flag action now. We go racing once again here in Jeddah. At the Jeddah Corning Street Circuit. Range Rover putting someone under pressure here is Cook onto Puzant. The two old foes going to be tussling over position. Yari putting ST under pressure as well. The two Alpines now in second and third, thanks to that collision. Hyper with 2.3 seconds lead. He's flying out in front. Leopold's already up into 7th place. Here comes Puzant onto Yari. He's going to look to the inside into that final corner. Is he going to be able to get the move done? Will he make it stick? Yari squeezed up against the wall. Some slight contact on corner exit as the two Alpines we see go through. And then it is the battling pit duo of Yari and Puzant. It could be a battling trio in a few moments' time if Cook wants to get involved. And Puzant just slots in behind the Audi. Puzant certainly going to try and capitalise on those hard compound tyres, of course, being on the alternate strategy. And there goes Leopold, the championship leader, right the way around the outside, the two-time champ. Is he going to be able to pull that off? He might get past both of them. He does get past both the previous champions. The two-time champ and the reigning champ have been made to look like they're standing still round the outside of turn 12. And just look at the pace that the V-Carb does have. He's already onto the back of Yari and ST in front who are squabbling. And Yari's been able to get past not one, but two Alpines before we make it to turn 22. And that might now be the case for Leopold, getting past both the Alpines heading up into the final corner. So, for the V-Carb, who started from last, he's already up into 5th place by lap 5. It could be P2 by lap 5. It's 3 wide heading into the final corner. Paulie, ST and Leopold all somehow keep it out of contact. Yari hits the wall and Leopold hits the forefront of this pack and moves up into 2nd place already. But here comes Paulie to come straight back to the outside line and he's back up into that 2nd place. Leopold will just have to slot back into 3rd. It runs very deep into the corner to maybe just hold off against ST behind. But for Leopold, it's taken him 6 laps to move up into 2nd, and one of those laps was majoritively under the virtual safety car. Runs wide though through 4. And will now just slowly bring himself back into a rhythm. But what a lap that was, passing 4 cars in a single lap for Leopold. Absolutely amazing scenes here in Jeddah. Asian picks up a 3-second time penalty. Him and Mute are the only drivers who have picked up penalty this race so far, of course. Only 6 laps in. Be nearing crunch time if this was the sprint race. No, it's only it is the feature. With that mandatory pit stop as well. See when these drivers come in from and also from the hards. Puzant able to get past Yari to the inside of Leopold. Now goes ST, and this might just allow his teammates to have a bit more breathing room out of the corner. But no, here will come Leopold. Onto Paulie. You surely would think he wants to get this move done quickly to try and hunt down Hyper in front. No, just sits behind once more as Puzant now looks to the inside of ST. Both the hard runners now starting to make progress. Oh, and that was a big old slide for Leopold, and somehow just about keeps that out of the wall. That was a huge slide there for the V-Carb. An expert car control to go to boot as well. Because how he's kept that facing the right way and not with front wing damage, I do not know, because the rear was all out of shape. It's Yari's now looking to the inside of ST. What a move this could be from the Audi. Oh, a big snap as they try and compress back over that camber. And he's been able to hold on to it once again. Some brilliant saves coming out of the drivers here this evening. Really having to be tested on car control. Leopold has been able to get past Paulie as well. Now Yari looking to the inside into the next left-hander. Just has to back out of things. This might now leave him under a little bit of pressure from Cook. Out of the final corner. Piper has a 2.8 second advantage over Leopold. Of course, he's on the medium, so he'll start to lose that time soon. That pendulum, I think, really has swung into the hard tyre driver's favour. Here for Puzan, he needs to get past on Paulie to try and get past Leopold. Now we look to the inside with Yari, who's just able to hold on in front of Cook, who got really squeezed to the wall there. I think Cook actually just got stuck in 4th gear ever so slightly, so maybe some technical issues for the Aston Martin. Here comes Cook to try and close him down, but just doesn't have the battery to do so. Yari now looking for a move onto ST. Once again, just not able to be able to deliver on that. And now here comes Yari. Once again, sniffing to the inside of ST. He'll be able to be later on the brakes. And is this finally the position gain? He's been threatening for so long. And he is ahead. And now Cook is going to be all involved in the action as well. He's going to be side by side with ST. The Alpine just able to slot in front. Might have a bit more battery to play with. As Yari is in the middle of the road. It's to the outside, to the inside once again for ST. And he's able to get the move straight back onto the Audi for HB Cook. He's now under pressure for MKD, who's trying to get the move done. Not able to do so there. And Yari went for it into 4. Had to back out of things. Wasn't far enough alongside. And Leopold has really been able to close up to the back here onto Hyper. Has there been a mistake from the McLaren somewhere around the lap? Because, of course, that gap was 3 seconds. And if he was 3 seconds faster, he would be 3 seconds clear of Puzan at this stage. But he is not. So, there must have been a mistake from the McLaren. Those tyres start to wet. Begin to get worse and worse. Joker's up into 11th place now. He's recovery drive. Still cracking on. And now look at the battery. Look at the speed that Leopold has, but he's not going to go for the move just yet. Is he waiting for that overtake mode to be able to extend throughout an entire lap? Behind for now, ST able to get back in front of Yari. MKD now getting the move done on Yari. They're 2 by 2 through the final corner, and MKD might have just got past all 3 heading down that straight. But we'll head back to that race lead now as Leopold looks to the outside line against the McLaren of Hyper. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Who's going to be able to hold on to the position? And will Leopold be able to snatch it away from the claws of the McLaren? And he certainly does. The V-Carb to the very forefront of the field. And for MKD as well, he's able to move himself up into 5th place and in front of that group. So for both V-Carb and Red Bull, the two sister teams, as that's actually ST back to the inside through turn 4. There was some slight contact made. They're still going to run side by side through the S's. Yari trying to get involved and capitalise on the carnage, but just has to sit behind. And for MKD, he's fighting back into turn 12 to the inside. He once again looks as it's 3 wide through turn 12. Yari saw a gap just big enough for his Audi, and he's through on the pair of them. Or is he? As they make their way into 14, the Alpine will try and defend with all his might, but he just can't do so against the superior outside line through there. And it is going to be Yari who comes out on top in that battle for the meantime. And Leopold picks up a 3-second time penalty, as MKD, who made his way up into 5th, has dropped straight back down into 8th place. But he gained the 3 spots just to lose them straight away on the next lap. Absolutely Brilliant racing from these drivers, though, keeping it clean, keeping it fair. And we do see drivers into the pit lane. That's Yari and ST both into the pits after 10 laps on those mediums. Of course, reaching that halfway stage of this race. So, for MKD. Well, trying to push on against Cook here. Front of the field, Leopold has dropped that overtake mode to Hyper. Just over that second clear now. But Puzan, he's now clawing the time back onto the McLaren. Still is just within touching distance of Leopold in front. This is going to be an enthralling race because there's also Paulie as well. Trying to fight back himself. When do Hyper and Paulie come into the pit lane? That's a big question. Paulie pulls the trigger now. Hyper pulls the trigger now. Paulie stays out for an extra lap. So he'll do half the race on this compound at the very least. Agent now picks up a 3-second time penalty. So, of course, race leader Leopold has 3 seconds. Along with Houston, the A-team, and Agent. And where does Hyper come out in relation to everybody else? Is there going to be any traffic around him? And Bearder, who I think might just be able to jump him, or Willie, using as much of the pit lane exit as he can, all over the curb, and Hyper crucially gets out in front of Liam Bearder there. Now it's free range to push on, and he's on another set of the mediums. Hyper has gone onto another set of the medium compound tyre. We might have just seen a strategic blunder here from the McLaren. Of course, needed to go on the hards to fulfill that 2-tyre allocation. I'm very confused. If he's trying a 2-stop, it's extremely risky. Well, those hards would have easily been able to make it to the end. So for Hyper, he might have just shot himself in the foot. Puzan is now 2.5 seconds behind. On to Leopold. And does Paulie come in now? Yes, he does. The Alpine comes into pit lane. What about Hyper? Does he stay out and he's confirm this strategy to the end? Maybe he's gambling on a late safety car to save his race. Paulie in. Yep, onto a set of the hards. And for Hyper, he's now going to have to pray a late safety car does come out. We can make that last pit stop. Extremely lucky if he's able to do it. Paulie came out just behind Joker. He came into a little bit of traffic. He's just got Yari right behind him, and also ST as well. Still waiting on Cook, the lone meat runner, to come in just yet, the 2-time champ. Straight line mode, active. It doesn't have the battery. Get past Joker there, who of course Self is on a recovery drive. I wonder if he's going to try to take those hards all the way to the end. It'll be a very tricky ask indeed. Could be possible, depending on how well he's been looking after them. But now, well and true. Pit lane, Websy and Alex pick up 3 time penalties. As there's Paulie to the inside of Joker. Through he goes. 9 laps of tyre age difference there between Paulie and Joker. And Yari will be the next one to try and follow the V-carb through. Battery, straight line mode. He breezed by on the inside here. Yes, he certainly does indeed. Front of the field, the pole, 3.6 seconds here now. On to them. And into the pit lane, they both come. Leopold and Puzan into pit lane. Off those hard compound tyres. They're going to take those mediums 10 laps in this race. Oh, Azal, no agent. Puzan's teammate came into the pit lane just before. Agent has come into the pit lane to put on the set of the softs, and that's delayed Puzan crucially and big time in the championship battle because, of course, these two, Leopold and Puzan, are the two fighting for the championship. They're the ones at the very top. And that has dropped Puzan 6 seconds behind closest competitor who is on the same strategy of ST. So he's got to really hope those mediums have a lot of pace. Or this could be well and true. That could well and truly be a race ender. Oh. Make our way here. Joker through the middle sector. Paulie getting closer to MKD in front, who is still yet to box. The only driver yet to box in this race. Hyper, of course, have to come in again. Clearly. Especially with Leopold behind him with that 3-second time penalty. Just went on to the hards. About a completely different story about Hyper maybe picking up the race victory. The first race victory of the season. But it's just, things are not be for Hyper in this race unless a late safety car does happen. Ben now. Penalty. As well. Hyper from Leopold. From then MKD gets to stop. Then Yari. And Cook. Big gaps within the field now are set from that top two. Leopold is really hunting down Hyper in front of him. I'll try to pull, that 3-second gap to the car in behind him. For Hyper here, you'll want to back this carb up as much as you possibly can, but he set the fastest lap of this race and is now going to look to the outside into the first corner with some great overspeed. Just is not there, just not with the momentum. Turns 2, 3. P1 and P here. Wobbling at the moment. Hyper will have to come in again. He's not filled the 2 different compound allocations. Just going to be able to hold on here. It's Leopold who was squeezed all the way to the inside there, to that inside wall, and Hyper didn't make it easy, but Leopold is now through and up into that race lead here on lap 17 or 25, or is he? Because Hyper comes straight back at him, and the McLaren is not giving this one up, and this is inviting Paulie right into the equation. If he can just get a little closer, he can well and truly be fighting for this race victory thanks to that 3-second time penalty for Leopold. And now, here comes the V-Carb once again against the McLaren. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Who's got the better battery to deal with this run down into that first corner? It's Leopold, who swoops right round the outside, but goes off the road, and that gives Hyper the opportunity to get straight back at him, and he will retake that race lead once again. Leopold getting incredibly frustrated at this stage of the race, being stuck behind the McLaren, but you don't need to get the move done, Leopold. Of course, you do want to break away from Paulie behind, but Hyper will have to come in again. He's really holding up the V-Carb, and there's contact! Leopold sent it to a half slide. He's still somehow facing in the right direction. He didn't go all the way around. Did a 90-degree slide, was parallel to the road, and that's allowed Paulie to take the race lead away. The net race lead is now within the Alpine driver's hands, and for Leopold, it is unfortunate for him. The man who's leading the championship has a 3-second time penalty to boot as well. Hyper was being as defensive as he possibly could, trying to hold up the V-Carb for as much as he could, and there's contact between the pair. A risky move to the inside of turn 9, and Hyper holds on to the race lead while Leopold has to fall down to 3rd and have to redo all that progress all over again. And hopefully for the V-Carb, he doesn't have any front wing damage. That could really run an end to his Grand Prix here in Jeddah. And now here comes Paulie with the battery, with the slipstream. He's ahead of Hyper, but will Hyper fight this one back? You bet he would. He just is not close enough onto the brakes, though. Well defended by Paulie as well. Race leader on the road. 1.1 is that gap between Hyper and Leopold. These two will have some bad blood after what happened on that last lap. Lap 19 of 25. Not too long left to go in this Grand Prix. 7 more racing laps. When we cross the line, it'll be 6 laps to go. Still 3 cars at the front of the field for the lead. I don't believe Hyper filled his allocation. Have a look. Yes, double medium. He has not filled his allocation. So, for Hyper, he will have to come in again at some point soon. I don't know if he's realised he's not fulfilled that allocation or not, because he's still pushing on. Again, maybe just hoping for a late race safety car. ST able to get past Puzant. He's up into 5th place now. Puzant drops down to 6th. Not a good race so far for the championship. The man who's fighting for the championship lead. And talk about fighting for the championship lead. Leopold forces Hyper offline. And it gets a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. There's a yellow flag a little bit further back. But that seems to be cleared up quite quickly. I think that was for Agent. But Hyper really holding up Leopold. Who's got another 3-second time penalty. That's now 6 seconds. And he retires from the race. Hyper picks up 10 seconds for illegal corner cutting. And Leopold retires in dramatic circumstances. And this might have just gifted Paulie a great opportunity at the race victory. And it may have just given Puzan the best opportunity at taking the championship lead right back into his hands after losing it in the sprint. After that spin, of course, on the final lap there. Drama here in Saudi Arabia at the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. With when we cross the line, 5 more action-packed laps to go. But we've been denied a crescendo. An absolutely frantic ending to this one. But we still do have this battle for 4th and 5th. Between Puzan and ST. Hyper comes into the pit lane. Yari will pick up 2nd place in this one. But who will get that final spot on the podium? Would it be Puzan? No, it will not be Puzan now. After pick up a 3-second time penalty for cutting across the road. He just took too much of the inside apex there at turn 1. And ST might make it an Alpine 1-3 on the podium here. And I believe that will be ST's first podium here in the OWLS Racing League. A frantic race to... time penalty. 3 seconds for everybody. Then 3. Let's see. Right there. Trying to keep. Doesn't really need to done too much now. He just at 3 seconds. Got, of course, 4 more racing laps here in Jeddah. Second advantage over Yari. But a dramatic incident there between Hyper and Leopold has really destroyed the running of this race. Well, Joker might still be able to recover a top 5 finish here. After the race he had, the start of the race he had after that collision with George. Falling to the back of the field. And he has worked effortlessly. He could have easily thrown in the towel with that front wing damage, but he has not given up. And it would be a very commendable P5 to back up a sprint race victory. And here he comes now onto HB Cook. Through goes Joker up into 5th. A very strong drive from Joker, and will be very much deserved of that P5 coming into this one. Well, that was a big slide there for Paulie, as actually Cook has come back now onto Joker. 3 more racing laps to go here in Saudi Arabia. Now the battle we do find ourselves in, the battle for P5. Joker versus Cook. 2 old rivals in terms of championships. Of course, most notably 2 seasons ago when Joker still had that chance, all the way until a few rounds to go, when he went on that 3-race win streak. Unstoppable. We thought that would transfer over into the next season, but it just did not come. You can see it fell through. Up into 5th place now. But I'm expecting Cook to come straight back at him. If not down this straight, the next. Paulie starts the penultimate tour here at Jeddah. To the inside will go the Aston Martin once again. This is certainly going to be a battle that chops and changes throughout the entirety of this race. Well, the remainder of this race, these next 2 laps. As Hyper gets 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a retirement. It is. And Hyper brings to an end a very disappointing session. It's useful now. Pop himself up into the points. Used. Essentially, win out on a point here. Cook once again gets overtaken by Joker. They are trading at the exact same places, lap by lap. Paulie come across the line now to start his victory lap, and I believe what will be his maiden win here in the OWLS Racing League. Alpha Cook doesn't go for that move. He's going to look for it. It's very late on the brakes from the 2-time champ. Too late on the brakes. And that's surely going to allow Joker to get straight back through. No. Joker allows him to stay ahead for now. But Cook extremely late on the brakes off the road. And that is a move you don't see often there. A desperate lunge to the inside from the Aston Martin. And he's now going to try and rebuild that battery and hope Joker doesn't find a way through. On this final tour. And at the front of the field, he has capitalised on the chaos when it has happened, but has also driven a very consistent, a very clean race, and has deserved this race victory more than anyone here tonight. Paulie has driven exceptionally well. He's been flawless in the face of danger, and he has won a thriller here in Saudi Arabia. He takes the victory from Yari in second. It's Paulie who reigns supreme here in Saudi Arabia. Stunning, stunning drive there from Paulie. Puzant gets third. That'll change, I think, to ST. Knows able to build out that gap, and it's now about the drag race. 4P5, and it is going to be Cook who's just able to hold on to that 5th place. But for Paulie, he takes the spoils. The Alpine man is victorious here tonight in Saudi Arabia. He capitalised on the chaos between Leopold and also Hyper, but did the business when it mattered, executed the strategy perfectly, and was able to hang on to the coattails of the cars in front for when that moment arose. For others to come across the line. Muse picks up points. I think that potentially could be his first points in his OWLS Racing, well, one of his first point scores in his OWLS Racing League career. Still wait for Ben Alex, and then the A-team finish up here. So as Leopold celebrates on the podium, your results are as follows for the race, of course. Scroll over. It's Paulie who takes the spoils there from Yari, then Puzan, ST, Cook, Joker, MKD, Liam Bearder, BJ Riley, who spun around on the opening out, recovering to 9th, and then in 10th. Followed by Ben, Alex, the 18, Websy, Hyper. The DNF begin with Hyper, Leopold, Asian, and George. Race that was. One. Full of action. Full of attrition. Well, that certainly is going to be a race that goes down in OWLS Racing League's history. Be a championship defining evening already here on round number 4 of the season. But ladies and gentlemen, as you return to my glorious face, we are going to be now, of course, giving the driver of the day vote. And I think my driver of the day is going to be Paulie or Joker. Oh, it's actually a good battle, but I think Paulie able to get through all the chaos. 2 very strong results, one in the sprint, one in the as well. So a strong result, strong showing from the Alpine, but an honourable mention to Joker, who drove exceptionally well to finish up in 6th and was able to recover after that early spin in the that early front wing damage in the race sent him to the back, and also the sprint race victory as well. But before we head off, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly run you through the calendar for the rest of the season. Next week we take a trip over to Interlagos, have Canada and Mexico for 7. Then our next and only other sprint of the season will be at Baku. That will be round 8 by Bahrain, Shanghai, and Miami, and then Suzuka. A 12-race calendar. Aren't nearing that halfway stage. But it is Puzan who's able to extend his championship lead that little bit further over Leopold and Co. After that crazy race. But we shall see what happens next time in Interlagos at a circuit fabled for brilliant action, brilliant overtakes, and just one that always does. I've been Max Ring. Thank you for joining me here this evening for what has been a great race under the lights here in Saudi. We shall see you in Interlagos in a week's time. Thank you all very much for watching. Join us at 8 PM UK time, 9 PM European time for that trip over to Brazil. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you.